Well, hello! Today I'd like to welcome you to a visit to a previous review. This is a Delta Serena, so welcome to Survivor Pens. If videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And I'm just kind of curious, who out there still has a Delta Serena wandering around? What are your feelings on it? Let us know down in the comments. So, I originally reviewed this pen back in June 4th, 2015, so about 5 years-ish ago. And it has bounced around my collection for a while. It took some time off because I accidentally broke it, and I fixed it. I've done some part swapping on it, but strangely enough, the pen is still here. So let's take a look at it. So Delta Serena, of course the Delta company no longer exists, was available in a red finish, a blue finish, and I believe a black finish. This was one of Delta's lower cost offerings. You can see the name Serena engraved on the back. And here, of course, we have Delta Italy. This was an Italian brand. The clip has a nice little roller, so we'll be testing that at the end, because back when I first filmed this review, I wasn't doing that test yet. In fact, that's back in my time when I was still standing up to do my reviews instead of sitting at the desk. Has a Delta finial, nicely understated, nothing on the other finial. And I like the understated sparkliness of the color, and then kind of this gunmetal gray finish, which has started to wear off, but I reviewed this pen 6 years ago. I've probably owned it, 5 years ago, but I probably have owned it longer than that. The nib has something on it. The nib, hope that's not rust. I will be kind of distraught. The nib kind of reminds me of the Montegrappa nibs, but much wider slit. This is a very broad nib. I think the side, yep, it's a broad. Up here where I think I'm seeing rust, I think that's a broad. Better not be rust because it's a stainless steel nib. Better just be inadequate cleaning, which is possible. And then just a plain ordinary plastic feed. Unscrew it. And it reveals a converter. This is not the original converter, but to make this converter fit, I had to saw off the top because regular converters don't fit. And weirdly, Delta had done the same thing to make it fit. Now, what I had broken, let's see if I can find it here. I had broken this bit off, this screwy-on bit, and I re-glued it. I had also cracked this bit. Let's see if I can find the crack. Yeah. Oh, that's a different crack. I'm not sure how I did either one, but anyway, the pen is repaired now, and the repairs seem to be holding. So before I go breaking it again, let's try writing with it. So I have some diamine communication breakdown provided by a viewer. We'll do the thing that makes my audience nervous. I don't think I've used this ink before, but I won't swear to it. Well, that's not a good sign. There are bubbles coming out, though, as I do this. A little better that time. Not amazing, you know. Still rather sad. And I will put some of this down to the fact... No, see, now the nib is totally immersed. So I'm not going to put this down to the fact that it's a sample. But there, by the fourth try, what was that? I kind of lost count there. Whatever try that was, I finally got a full fill on it. So I'm going to use this pen. Doggone it. Oh, shoot. And I just pulled the converter out. Luckily, nothing came out. If you've ever pulled the converter out on a pen, you know that, well, this converter doesn't seat too well. And probably because it's not the original converter. Why isn't it the original converter, you ask? Well, the correct answer is because after I broke the pen, I thought, well, how am I ever going to use this pen again? Until I finally got brave enough to fix it, and by then, who knows where the original converter went? It's in a pen somewhere. So if I ever show up with a short, stumpy converter, we'll know, oh, that was the original converter from this pen. So it is just a standard international converter. It wasn't hard to find one that fit. But without that, this couldn't screw on the whole way. So the communication breakdown is actually a Diamine Special Edition. They all are. I've been using a number of these. Pretty much when I run a pen that is a wetter than normal pen, because they were donated by a viewer for me to try. So I thought I'd try it. Sounded like fun at the time. And now my hands are really red because of that whole debacle. Why don't you get a holder for that? Good question, and I don't have a good answer for you. So back when I was filming these reviews, I was a lot more into buying the more modern pens. I didn't buy too many vintage. Now I'm the opposite. Almost anything I buy is vintage. I hardly ever buy a modern pen. The ink is Diamine. Communication breakdown. I think I'm writing too small. As you can probably tell, this is a very wet nib. Which will play into my comments toward the end of the video. Flex? Not really. It has definite line variation. It's sort of stub-like. Wider than it is. I don't know what word I'm looking for there, but it is. So we've got flex, a wetness and flow. What's kind of interesting, I had some trouble with a stipula pen that I purchased for quite a bit more than I spent on this one. And so in desperation, I started switching feeds. That stipula pen now has the feed out of this pen, because at the time this pen was still broken. I thought I'd never use it again. This pen has the stipula feed, still working just fine. Stipula was improved, but still needed some other adjustments. I'll have to bring that pen out again one of these days and update everybody. But this is about the Delta Serena. So wetness and flow, smear test, you know where that's going to go. That's a flippin' wet pen. Almost too wet. And reverse writing. I don't remember. I was going to re-watch the review and look at my old comments, but then I didn't. Yeah, see, the way it writes in reverse is more of a medium. And finally, let's do a longer form quote. It's been so long since I've done one of these Survivor pens that I've forgotten if that was part of the video, my Survivor pen series or not. So if it's not, you get a bonus. One test that's new since I first filmed this is my introduction of the world-famous Peer-Gustafson test. I'm actually kind of curious how this pen performs on that test. And as you can see, the feed dries out. If I were to just do my usual random scribbles that I used to do before I got corrected on how I was applying the test, same thing. It gets to the point it dries out. According to the originator of the Peer-Gustafson test, the famous Peer-Gustafson himself, that's what he expects with modern pens. Of course, I don't know if I can really say anything intelligent about that. I'm not as knowledgeable about pens as he is, so I will just let the evidence for this pen stand, because really, all I can do is evaluate the pen I have. And to be fair, maybe if I had the original feed on it, it would be different, but since it's a injection molded, mass-produced feed, although they are different because the stipula was improved. But enough of that. Pocket test, which I didn't used to do either. Fits right in. And actually this pen is short. And this pocket tends to be shallow, so a lot of my pens, when I carry them in it, I have to carry them at an angle like this. This one can sit upright in my pocket with no problem, so make of that what you will. So, do I like this pen? Yes, I do. I like the understated red finish. I liked it back then. I like it now. I do like how it writes. It's a very wet pen, and I think that's by design. I know previously I had some trouble with hard starts with it once in a while. The nib has a bit of baby's bottom. I should show you that. If it'll pick it up here. I mean, not bad, but enough that sometimes it would be an issue. Not enough times that it made a big difference. So why don't I write with this pen more? Well, it disappeared from the channel for a long time, like I said, because I broke it like a dumbass. I dropped it on the floor, and my floor is not soft. But then after I repaired it, I just haven't written with it a lot, and I couldn't tell you why. I guess it doesn't excite me like some of my other pens do. I guess part of my problem is I have too many pens and probably should cut back. But yeah, I just don't use it a lot. I don't mind it when I do write with it. It tends to run dry pretty quickly, so it's not like I'm going to get tired of it. I've got a bulk filler right now that's on its second hibernation because I got bored with it. This pen is wet and cartridge converter, so it empties out pretty quickly. So I think by the time this is written dry, I'll be ready for a change. Maybe even not quite ready for a change. Who knows? But I'm not going to go out there and tell you to buy one. I would guess if you were to search eBay, you could get it for cheaper than I bought it new. Unless you really want a Delta Serena, though, I don't know why you would seek this pen out in particular. I sought out a Fusion nib because I really wanted one. Not on this pen, but other than that, I really haven't sought out Delta. But then again, what kind of buyer am I? I'm mostly a buyer now of vintage pens, especially the lesser known ones. So I'm not the market for this pen, new or used. So if this pen appeals to you, you do you, boo. That's the fun of this hobby, is we are very diverse. A lot of the pens that Peer-Gustafson, of the world famous Peer-Gustafson test pulls out, I'm just like, no, not for me. And that's okay. That's part of the fun and the diversity. So yeah, I would encourage you to look for it if you do. And I believe it would be cheaper now. If you're paying the retail price I paid back 5 or so years ago, you're probably paying too much. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if in another 5 years, when I do another Survivor pens. This pen isn't still in my collection. I may get rid of it if I do a pen purge the way I've thought about doing and selling off a bunch of pens, which nothing's going to happen with that till summer, so don't worry. I might, but with the broken bits, it's also maybe not one I want to get rid of because it's really not worth a lot of money. So I don't know, something I have to decide between now and then. I may just decide to keep them all because what the heck, it's a collection. So where does that leave you? I don't know. So if videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And what do you think of the Delta Serena? Do you have one? Do you like it? Do you have a favorite Delta model? Let us know down in the comments. Have you bought one used on eBay or something recently? Let us know about that down in the comments too. So, I want to thank you for watching. We'll close with a quick tour of the pen and maybe look at the sheen that I forgot to show you while I was reviewing the pen, because this series of ink is supposed to be heavily sheening. So, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.